Hey folks, welcome to eCommerce 360. Today we have Judy Anderson Townsend, CEO, founder, Mannequin Madness, which is actually a very, very exciting and interesting business that we are presenting you today with. Hey Judy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm not going to let our listeners or whoever is viewing our show, learn about Mannequin Madness from me because it's an amazing story. It's an inspiring story, and it's a story which probably nobody has, even imagined would make a huge business. So let us a bit about how you started Mannequin Madness and what inspired you to, get set on this journey.
Okay. Well, it was certainly an accidental entrepreneurial journey. What happened is at the time I was working at a .com in the early days of the .com industry. And so many of the people there were serial entrepreneurs. I didn't even know what that meant at the time, but I just knew that it kind of inspired me. And I thought I wanted to have a side hustle. It's always important to have multiple revenue streams. So I wasn't looking for this to be a full-time job. And I just stumbled upon it because I was on Craigslist looking for some concert tickets and someone was selling a mannequin. And that got my attention because I wanted a mannequin for an art project. I didn't think it could be a business. And when I went to see the seller, he ran the only mannequin rental business in town and was leaving the state. And he just casually mentioned, now that I'm leaving the Bay Area, there won't be a place to rent a mannequin. Well, I didn't even know that people rented mannequins or why they rented mannequins. But, you just get one of those aha moments like, oh, that sounds interesting. And so he told me why people would rent mannequins for trade shows. And I thought, this could be a side hustle, just something for fun. What's the worst that could happen? It cost me $2,500 to buy 50 mannequins, and I thought I'd get started. Once again, I just thought it was going to be fun. But what happened, he did not leave me his client list because he had everything packed up. He really was planning on just selling the mannequins, not the business. So there I was, stuck with no way to get in contact with him when he left. No client list, no prior experience, all the reasons to think, oh my God, this is a disaster. And this is before e-commerce, before the internet. So I had no real way of reaching people. So I went the old-fashioned way and went to every department store, introduced myself, and told them that I rent mannequins because people would probably call a big department store if they were looking for mannequins, not me. And they started referring people to me. So that's the initial start. You want me to jump ahead to then how it leaked from there?
No, absolutely, that was an amazing start. And how did you gain the confidence? When was the moment you said you had an aha moment when you had this gut feeling that there's something in this that I'm going to make a business out of. When was the moment you knew for sure? When did you gain that sort of confidence that yes, I have started getting some orders and I'm going to make it into a huge business? When was that moment in your journey?
Well, let's just say it was a gradual process because I always considered myself pretty risk averse. So I like to encourage people to say anything is possible. I was in my mid 40s when I first started this. And I never had any chance, taking risks before. So I was a little nervous. But really, it was 9/11 that changed things. I was happy still doing this as a side hustle. 9/11 happened. And kind of like now, the world kind of changed, particularly in the US. And my .com job ended. And I had to make a choice to either go look for another job where my heart was not into that. Or I said, if we're in our last days and time, I want to do something I enjoy. And I loved the mannequin, even though it was still just part-time and, I still was not making enough to support myself. Fortunately, I had a partner at the time. My husband was very helpful. And I did just really dug in. And I think two things happened. Number one, I started marketing on Etsy. I started getting more mannequins from department stores because when they would close or remodel, they used to just throw their mannequins in the trash, which is a horrible thing to do from an environmental standpoint. I offered to recycle their mannequins for free. So I went from 50 to 500 mannequins in a 6-month period of time. So now I have more mannequins to now sell, not just simply rent, and I could sell out of the area. So I first started on Etsy because e-commerce didn't exist. But then once e-commerce happened, I first started on one platform, then I went over to Shopify, and that was the total game changer because then I could reach people all over the US and Canada. I mean, I really could ship anywhere, but cost of mannequins are too heavy to ship, say, to England. So I pretty much kind of say the US and Canada. And that was the game changer. And that's really when the confidence began.
Brilliant. So when you said that, you moved from retail to e-commerce, and moving to e-commerce was the biggest game changer. I'm sure e-commerce businesses are not as easy as they're portrayed to be. They come with their own set of challenges with regards to branding, with regards to, shipping, with regards to, sending customers to your website. Your marketing strategies need to be different. How did you overcome those challenges?
Everything has been a gradual process. I want to say it's certainly not an easy process. So,
Mhm.
along with e-commerce became, of course, the growth of social media, which didn't exist when I came along too. So I started to go on certain platforms that really spoke to my audience. For example, Pinterest was really great for my audience because Pinterest had a lot of inspirational ideas. Many of my
Mhm.
customers are not retail stores, even though that's a part of it. There are a lot of people who do mannequins for all kinds of creative art projects. Pinterest was a way of getting that out there, both for me to collect information about what people do. Because sometimes when people would buy a mannequin from me, I would not always see the finished result. But on Pinterest, I could see examples from all over the world. So then I started sharing those examples from Pinterest on my Facebook, on my Instagram. And then that started also attracting other people because they saw me as the resource for all things mannequin related. I think
Mhm.
really allowing myself to provide service in terms of information as well as selling product. No one wants someone just always shoving product down their face,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So the
yeah,
idea
yeah.
is to say, find a way to be relational with people.
Mm-hmm.
So that went from also then starting to do tutorials to show people, hey, here's a cool way to do this with the mannequin. Let us show you how.
Mm-hmm. I was just wondering, are you on TikTok? Because I was just thinking about what you're doing with mannequins and a tutorial, and then I suddenly thought, why are you already in TikTok?
It's
Or
funny to say that I just started a presence on TikTok and I hired
awesome.
someone to do TikTok for
Mm-hmm.
me. TikTok's a little uncomfortable for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm older. I'm in my 60s, and I
But
like
you
the video.
don't look that way. You.
Actually, more I can keep it myself. Being around mannequins keeps you young because they don't age. But I realized that the great thing is that it allows me to stay on top of things because in order to grow my business, I need to be aware of the latest trends. That doesn't mean I have to do
Mhm.
them, but I need to be a part of them. So I realized TikTok is a great opportunity. I don't feel comfortable, but let me hire someone who does. I've got all the great ideas for the content. I just
Mhm.
need someone to put
Mhm.
it together and to post it. And that's where, once again, e-commerce, it's just, I'm so eternally grateful that that came along. I would not have my business right now without e-commerce. Besides the fact that it allowed me to reach people outside of my market, it allowed
Mhm.
people to find me when I put creative ideas out there, they find me. But also, particularly as a woman and as a woman of color, it's great because the internet allows you to be invisible in a sense.
Yeah,
It's
democratizes a bit. Yeah.
totally. It's only recently, post George
Mhm.
Floyd, that I even put that I was a Black-owned business. Most of the time, people had no idea, or you had to really dig really down on the website to find out
Mhm.
who I was. And I like that because otherwise, I think I could have been a victim of both age discrimination, racial discrimination, even geography. I'm in Oakland.
Mhm.
People think of management, they think, oh, you should be in New York, you should be in Los Angeles,
Mhm.
far away from those fashion capitals. But
Mhm.
the presence that I had online, it gives them the information they need. And that's what's more important versus who I am or what I look like or how old I am.
How awesome is that? So, taking a bit, taking a step back, COVID happened. A lot of businesses were impacted. Some of them were impacted for better, some of them for the worse. What happened to mannequin business, and how did you overcome the impact of COVID?
It definitely was a struggle. But once again, I know I sound like an e-commerce, professional. It's like without
Mhm.
e-commerce, we wouldn't have made it for a couple of reasons. First of all, in the Bay Area, a lot of people were leaving the area because the cost of
Mhm.
living is already high. They
Mhm.
could work remotely. So we saw our local business decline. But what's interesting, other cities were booming. And because we
Mhm.
had the online presence, we could ship to them. If I was just
Yeah.
depending on my local customer base, I'd be in trouble. Secondly, we started doing Zoom classes where people wanted to learn how to make, like, say, a dress from Christmas tree or other kinds of mannequin projects. Zoom, people now are much more comfortable with Zoom than they would have been before.
Yeah.
So that helped a lot in that regard. And then a part of it was just kind of thinking, okay, once this passes, what can we do next? We also used the time to just kind of like regroup a little bit to see what kind of things we could do better.
Mhm.
And we have a photo studio in our warehouse. And a lot
Wow.
of, unfortunately, small businesses did not have an online presence. And we made our
Mhm.
photo studio available for them to rent, and they can then use our mannequins free of charge to put their inventory online. So it was great that we could both help our community and
Yeah.
and also we did bring in some business. Granted, renting our photo studio was not as lucrative as some other aspects, but it allowed people to see us. It allowed us to be able to kind of keep things going and to just kind of see, okay, sometimes you just kind of pivot with new ideas. Now, photo studio is a big part of our business because we're going to start doing dog photography.
Oh yeah.
People, dog,
Awesome.
a lot of people started buying dogs during
Mhm.
COVID, and they want to take
Mhm.
pictures of their dogs on Instagram. Well, we have tons of props in our mannequin warehouse. So we're going to
Mhm.
now convert our photo studio to a fur, FUR, photography studio. Wouldn't have thought about doing otherwise.
So adorable. So, I just wanted to ask you quickly about what is the black girl magic that you mentioned in a lot of your interviews. What is it? What is the magic? Let us a bit into that.
The
Let us
magic
into that
is
secret.
the part of it is Black girl magic is being tenacious and being creative and finding a
Mhm.
way out of no way is the bottom line. When I
Brilliant.
started, I didn't think someone like me was an entrepreneur because once again, in the Bay Area, an entrepreneur is usually a young white man with venture capital money. So I
Mhm.
didn't consider myself an entrepreneur, even though I was doing entrepreneurial things. Entrepreneur is like hustling to make
Mhm.
your business grow, whatever it takes legally, of course, being creative, pivoting, trying new ideas. Something fails, you don't let it get you down, you just come back with something else. Black women in general have had to do that ever since we've been in the United States. We always haven't had the opportunity to do it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, but in terms of keeping our families and our communities going, it's about, like I said, finding a way out of no way. I had no financing when I got started. No one was going to finance me. I mean, I wouldn't finance me initially anyway. I mean, I was an older
Mhm.
woman in industry with no experience. No one's going to finance that. So I had to be totally bootstrapped, which means I had to find creative ways to make things work. That's what Black Girl Magic is all about.
Very, very inspiring. So, what are your current strategies now? You mentioned that you have a photo studio, you're going to convert them into photography. Other than that, what are your current strategies to growing your mannequin madness business?
We're visiting some places that we had ignored before, like for instance, Etsy. We had not really put, particularly our secondhand mannequins, we hadn't put them
Mm-hmm.
on Etsy just for various reasons. But we started doing that a few months ago and it's been flying off of the shelf. Also, more young people are into secondhand items, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
Poshmark or Depop, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a new audience we're targeting, the people who are selling on those platforms. Another thing that came up is that people wanted to do things with their hands because making things by hand helps to relieve anxiety and stress. And who didn't have lots of anxiety and stress last year? What we do now, since we can meet in person, we have art classes in our warehouse where we have mannequin
Mm-hmm.
heads and people can make a flower crown,
Uh,
a fake
uh,
flower, yeah, faux flowers. And it's a great way for people to build community. Everybody wears a headdress for some sort of occasion, right? Whether it's a wedding or cosplay or Day of the Dead. So it's like we have themes every year. And so people come in 90 minutes, they make a headdress. And what I like about it, we reach people who may not need a mannequin. They may not ever be a mannequin customer, but it's just providing another thread for our business. So the DIY crowd, we have the dog photography people, we have people who need a mannequin for their store reasons. Like how many different ways can we basically utilize our space? It's not just the mannequins, but we're also now using our space as a venue space. And we use e-commerce to promote those, all of those big.
Awesome. So you have loads and loads of content because you are creating those channels. So you get to have loads of content and you're going to be distributing those content across social media channels. Amazing ideas. By the, I mean, how do you get these ideas? Are you a creative person or do you write down, jot down ideas as and when you get them? Is that an ideating process?
A little bit of both. I mean, I look at a lot of things online, particularly, Pinterest and Instagram. So I get ideas there.
Mhm.
And I read the book, The Artist Way. Some people in the US might be familiar with that. And that really
Mhm.
allows you to just uh, pause and listen to your inner voice. I think many times more people are creative than they realize, but we're so many times just on a rush. We don't get a
Mhm.
chance for things to kind of bubble up, or we're acting out of desperation and fear. I find that when I allow myself to be quiet or tap into doing something creative over here, like I started doing salsa dance classes, that has nothing to do with mannequin,
Wow.
but it just sort of been releasing to some sort of different energy in my brain, so to speak.
Mhm.
I gave a clearing. So then all of a
Mhm.
sudden became more creative over here. And I also believe in partnering with other people. I saw someone who did something really creative with balloons on a mannequin. I reached out to them to see how we could help cross promote with each other. There's a proverb that says, if you want to go far, go alone. No, if you
Yeah.
want to go someplace fast, go alone. You want to go someplace far,
Sure.
go with other people. And
Yeah.
I've been collaborating with other people, whether it's creative projects, whether it's other people who recycle mannequins across the country. I mean, I'm now a national mannequin recycler because if a chain calls me and they have a mannequin that they want to get rid of in another part of the country, I have someone I can call over there to go get them. And so they give me a referral fee. I don't make as much money as I normally would do, but it's more money than if I didn't have the sale at all. So collaboration is the key. Collaboration and e-commerce, you can go far.
So, in continuation with that, as a wrap up to this podcast, what would be your one advice to all the entrepreneurs who are just starting out?
Don't give up. Don't give up. There are many times when I mean, you're hearing me now, but there have definitely been some times in which I thought, can I still make this go? Because, once again, it's a really crazy way to make a living with mannequins. But, I was passionate about what I did, and I just didn't let the downtimes have me turn away. I just have someone that you can talk to as a support system, a buddy, a pal, another entrepreneur, because we all go through ups and downs. And I think so many times when we go through the down, we tend to just kind of internalize things, and then our head gets very toxic with ideas. If you then reach out to someone else, most of the time you're going to find a way to take that one extra step, and that can change everything.
Thank you so much, Judy. This was brilliant. This was super inspiring. I'm sure any or every e-commerce entrepreneur who was watching, listening to the show must have gleaned a lot of insights from this interview, not just, from strategy perspective, also from, your how do you ideate, how do you stay creative, how do you stay motivated, and how do you network, how do you get yourself be successful. It's just in your hands, right, at the end of the day. So
Can I just add one last thing? Do we have time?
sure thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Many times there are a lot of business incubators that I highly recommend that people join. I try to join one incubator at least once a year, if not every other year. Sometimes it's maybe a 4-week program, sometimes it's a 12-week program. So once again, it's good to get input from other people.
Absolutely. Amazing. Thank you so much, Judy, for coming on our show and giving us super amazing insights, and keep growing. And I love your energy. I wish you all the luck. We wish you all the best for your Mannequin Madness to grow in many, many years to come.
Thank you so much.